Have you ever wondered why the moment you stop caring, everything starts falling into place? Why do the people who seem to care the least always end up getting the most? Society has conditioned you to believe that you need to care more about your job, your relationships, and what people think of you to get ahead. But what if I told you that this mindset is keeping you weak? The more you invest emotionally in things outside of your control, the more you set yourself up for failure and disappointment. And that's not just an opinion, it's rooted in Stoic philosophy, a way of thinking that has helped men rise above the noise for centuries. The Stoics believed in focusing only on what you can control, your own actions, your own thoughts, and detaching from everything else. Because here's the truth, when you cling to outcomes, whether it's approval, success, or validation, you lose your power. But when you let go, when you genuinely stop caring about what happens next, you tap into a strength that most people never experience. In this video from Love Stoic, we're going to break down exactly how this mindset shift works and why embracing detachment is the secret weapon you never knew you needed. If you've ever felt like you're chasing life rather than living it, stick around. This is going to change everything. But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button if you're new here, and if you want to support the channel and keep content like this accessible to as many men as possible, consider joining our channel membership. It's a small way to help us create more high-quality content for you. Let's jump in. Number 1. The power of detachment. Let's talk about something most people won't tell you. Caring too much makes you weak. This is the uncomfortable truth that society doesn't want you to know. Especially as a man, from a young age, you're told that you need to be caring, sensitive, and emotionally invested in everything: your job, your relationships, your reputation. But here's the reality. The moment you stop caring, you become powerful. Why? Because detachment is freedom. When you stop caring about outcomes, you stop being controlled by fear, by the opinion of others, and by the constant need for validation. Think about it. The most successful men, the ones who have their lives together, aren't the ones obsessing over what people think of them. They're the ones who move through life without needing external approval. They know who they are, and they don't bend for anyone. This isn't about being reckless or irresponsible. It's about reclaiming your power. When you're overly invested in someone else's opinion, you give them control over your emotions. Whether it's your boss, your girlfriend, or society at large, you're essentially saying, "I need you to validate me for me to feel good about myself." That's weak, and in today's world, weakness isn't an option. Too many men today are falling into the trap of overinvestment. The more you care, the less attractive you become. It's a paradox, but women are biologically wired to be drawn to men who are confident in themselves and don't seek validation. The guy who's always available, always eager to please, he's the one who ends up getting friend-zoned or dumped. Why? Because he's too needy. When you practice detachment, you send a different signal. You're telling the world, "I'm enough on my own." Whether you get the job, the girl, or the approval of others, it doesn't define your self-worth, and that's when you become truly powerful. Number 2. Why caring less helps you achieve more. Society keeps telling you to care more, to give it your all, to show up with everything you've got. But here's the reality. Caring less is actually what gets you ahead. It sounds crazy, right? But think about this. The more you care, the more you get attached to outcomes, and the more you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Let me break it down for you. When you care too much about how things turn out, you're operating from a place of fear. Fear of failure, fear of not being enough, fear of rejection. Whether it's in a friendship, at work, or even with your family, you're constantly trying to control what's going to happen. You worry about the future, about how people perceive you, and whether you're going to get the result you want. And what does that do? It cripples you. You stop being present in the moment. You second-guess yourself. You become hesitant, overthinking every single move. You end up coming across as weak, insecure, and frankly, desperate for approval. And people sense that. Your boss, your co-workers, your friends. They can all smell it from a mile away. The more invested you are in the outcome, the less confident you become. Here's the harsh reality. The man who cares less wins more. Why? Because he's not chasing anything. He's focused on the process, not the result. He shows up, does his thing, and if things don't go his way, guess what? He's not bothered. He moves on. That energy is powerful because it screams confidence, and confidence is magnetic in every area of life, whether it's your career, your goals, or even your relationships. People are drawn to those who are detached. They're attracted to someone who isn't looking for validation, someone who's focused on themselves and their own growth. That's the secret. It's not about not trying, it's about giving your best, but not being emotionally attached to the result. When you care less, you stop overthinking. You start acting from a place of power, not fear. You're no longer controlled by what might happen, and instead, you control what's happening right now. That's when you perform at your best. You're clear-headed, decisive, and people start respecting you more because they see that you're not playing the game of emotional neediness. Number 3. How detachment boosts confidence instantly. You want to know the fastest way to boost your confidence as a man? It's not through expensive clothes, a fancy car, or hitting the gym every day, though that helps. It's through letting go of the need for anyone else's approval, whether that's your friends, family, co-workers, or society in general. Most men walk through life trapped by their need for validation. You bend over backward to be liked, to be accepted, to be seen as worthy. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The more you seek approval, the weaker you appear. Needing approval from others puts you at their mercy. Every action you take is guided by what they might think of you. You become a puppet, and they're pulling the strings. That's not confidence. That's insecurity disguised as effort. Detachment, the ability to be indifferent to others' opinions, is, on the other hand, the ultimate form of confidence. When you stop caring whether people approve of your decisions, you automatically become more confident. Why? Because now you're living on your own terms. You're no longer concerned with whether people like you, agree with you, or admire you. You've freed yourself from the shackles of needing external validation. Think about it. What's more powerful than a man who walks into any situation and doesn't care about the outcome? He's not swayed by other people's opinions. He's not constantly second-guessing himself. He's not begging for respect. He knows that his value comes from within, and that's a rare quality in today's world. It's magnetic. When you stop caring about what others think, you'll notice an immediate shift in how people respond to you. They'll see you as someone with purpose and self-worth. And here's the irony. By not seeking their approval, you gain their respect. They'll look at you differently, with a sense of admiration, maybe even envy. That's real power. Number 4. The desperation vibe. Desperation is a killer, plain and simple. It's the silent force that pushes opportunities away from you. You may not realize it, but the vibe you give off when you care too much is like poison to anyone around you. In relationships, at work, with friends, desperation makes people pull back. Why? Because desperation screams weakness. It signals to others that you don't value yourself enough, and if you don't value yourself, why should they? Think about it. Have you ever noticed how when you're desperate for something, whether it's someone's time, approval, or validation, it seems to slip through your fingers? You start texting too much, calling too often, or asking for reassurance. You become anxious, constantly wondering if you're doing enough to impress or to keep them around. That's the desperation trap, and it's brutal. What you need to understand is this. Desperation stems from a lack of self-worth. When you're desperate, you're essentially telling the world that you're not enough on your own, that you need something or someone to complete you. And that energy, it's toxic. It drives people away. Whether it's in a romantic relationship, a business deal, or even friendships, nobody wants to be around someone who's constantly seeking approval or validation. It's exhausting for them, and it's soul-crushing for you. The hard truth is that people respect those who are self-sufficient, who stand strong on their own 2 feet. When you stop caring so much about what others think or what they can give you, you regain control over your life. You flip the script. Instead of chasing, you attract. Instead of clinging, you let go. And that's when opportunities start flowing your way. The best part about letting go of desperation, you become free from the endless cycle of overthinking, worrying, and needing others to validate your existence. When you walk into any situation with the mindset of, I don't need anything from you, I'm good with or without this, you instantly become more powerful. People can sense that, and they're drawn to it. The less you care, the more you win. When you stop being desperate, you stop chasing outcomes and start living life on your own terms. This shift in mindset doesn't mean you don't want good things to happen to you. It means that you're no longer controlled by the fear of losing them. Detachment is what separates the men who live in scarcity from the men who live in abundance. The moment you stop giving off that desperate vibe, you start magnetizing what you want. People will naturally respect you more because they can see that you don't need them to complete you. Number 5. The hidden freedom of saying, I don't care. There's a hidden power in saying, I don't care, but it's not about being reckless or cold. It's about freeing yourself from the mental prison that comes from caring too much about things you can't control. Whether that's your relationships, job, friendships, or society's expectations. Too many men waste their lives trying to live up to standards that don't even matter, chasing approval from people who aren't even thinking about them. Let me tell you the harsh truth. The world doesn't care about you as much as you think it does. That's a liberating realization. Once you grasp that, you're free to live your life on your own terms. The moment you stop giving a damn about what people think, about how you're being judged, about whether someone likes you or not, is the moment you take your power back. You've been conditioned to believe that you need to prove yourself constantly to make others happy at your own expense. But here's the reality. You don't owe anyone anything. When you stop caring, you don't waste time and energy on things that don't serve you. It allows you to focus on what truly matters, yourself, your goals, and your growth. Imagine the mental clarity you'd have if you didn't constantly second-guess yourself, wondering if you're saying the right thing or doing enough to please others. In relationships, this is gold. You stop feeling obligated to fix everything, to bend over backward to keep the peace, to sacrifice your own happiness for the sake of someone else's approval. When you're not afraid of losing something, you become untouchable. This is the real key to emotional freedom, detaching yourself from the outcome. Whatever happens, happens, and you'll be fine either way. Number 6. How to master the art of letting go. Letting go is one of the hardest things you'll ever learn in life. But once you master it, you'll realize it's also the most powerful. The art of detachment isn't about walking away from everything. It's about recognizing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. Most men give too much energy to things that don't serve them: relationships, friendships, jobs, even the opinions of others. They get caught up in trying to please everyone or control every outcome, and in the process, they lose themselves. Detachment is about reclaiming your power by no longer being dependent on how others react or respond to you. When you detach, you stop needing constant approval. You stop investing your energy in trying to get people to like or respect you. You stop fearing failure because you're no longer defined by it. This is where true freedom begins. Freedom from expectations, freedom from the need for validation, freedom from outcomes. Here's where men often get it wrong. They think letting go means giving up or not trying. But that's far from the truth. Detachment means you do your best without obsessing over the result. It's about putting in the work, whether that's in your career, your friendships, or even your own self-development, and letting the chips fall where they may. Let's take an example that's common today. You're grinding, putting in work to better yourself, but you're not seeing the results you want. Most men will stress, overthink, and question their value because the outcome isn't what they expected. But when you detach from the result, you free yourself from this emotional weight. You shift your focus from "what will people think of me if I fail?" to "I'm working on myself, and that's all that matters." Detachment is also about setting boundaries. People will always test you, push your limits, and try to get more from you than you're willing to give. When you've mastered the art of letting go, you know where to draw the line. You understand that your energy is finite and not everyone deserves a piece of it. You learn to prioritize yourself, your goals, and your well-being over what others expect from you. Ultimately, detachment is the most masculine thing you can do because it centers you in your own power. You're no longer driven by fear of rejection, failure, or criticism. You know who you are, and you're not swayed by the external noise. This is what sets apart the men who thrive from the men who merely survive. Number 7. Why detachment attracts success. Emotional attachment is killing your success, whether it's in your career, friendships, or any other relationship. The moment you get emotionally hooked on an outcome. Why? Because attachment clouds your judgment. When you're too invested, you start overthinking, doubting yourself, and making emotional decisions rather than logical ones. You might think you're being passionate or driven, but in reality, you're setting yourself up for failure. There's a well-known concept in psychology called the law of detachment. It's simple but powerful. The less you care about an outcome, the more likely you are to succeed. When you detach, you allow yourself to think clearly, act confidently, and stay calm under pressure. You're not driven by fear or insecurity, but by rationality and self-assurance. That's why people who aren't overly invested in things like relationships or job interviews tend to do better. They're not weighed down by desperation. Think about it. Have you ever seen a guy who just doesn't seem to care whether he gets the job, wins the game, or impresses someone? More often than not, that's the guy who ends up winning. It's not because he's more talented or better prepared. It's because he's operating from a place of control. When you're emotionally detached, you project confidence, and confidence attracts success. Look at it this way. When you're detached from the outcome, you're free to focus on the process. Whether it's preparing for an important meeting, leveling up in your career, or navigating a challenging relationship, you can put your best foot forward without being paralyzed by the fear of failure. That's the key. When you let go of the need for things to go a certain way, you give yourself the freedom to adapt, to adjust, and ultimately, to win. It's the same with your relationships. The more you hold on to how things should be, the more pressure you put on yourself and others, which leads to conflict and frustration. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means focusing on what you can control and releasing what you can't. You're not sacrificing your values or goals, but you're freeing yourself from the emotional chains that come with needing everything to go perfectly. Detachment is a form of emotional discipline. It's not about caring less. It's about choosing where to direct your energy. The guy who detaches isn't weak. He's just learned that his worth isn't tied to the approval or rejection of others. He's learned that his value comes from within, not from any external validation. That's the mindset that leads to true success. When you detach, you create space for success to come to you. You're no longer chasing it, and that makes all the difference. You're not sweating the outcome, you're commanding it. Number 8. Stronger relationships. Relationships are not supposed to be battles for control, but when you care too much, that's exactly what they become. The more you invest emotionally, the more you lose. The more you give away your peace of mind, your sense of self, the more unstable your relationships become. It's harsh, but it's true. In relationships, neediness is the kiss of death. It doesn't matter if it's with your friends, family, or a romantic partner. When you're desperate to please, you're setting yourself up to be taken for granted. People can sense when you're too invested, and that's when they stop respecting you. The ugly truth is this: the less you care, the more power you hold. When you detach yourself emotionally from the outcome, whether it's the direction of your friendship, a business relationship, or even the dynamic with your partner, you instantly become more valuable. You're no longer afraid of losing the relationship because you're not dependent on it for your happiness. That confidence is magnetic. People respect those who are not afraid to walk away. Now let's make one thing clear. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about self-respect. When you care too much, you give away your leverage. By maintaining a level of emotional detachment, you're communicating that you are secure in who you are, and you don't need someone else's validation to feel complete. That's the foundation of any thriving relationship. Think about it. When you are too available, too eager to please, you lower your value in the eyes of others. It's not about playing games, it's about protecting your self-worth. People respect boundaries when they see that you respect yourself enough to not cling to the relationship. That's when they start treating you with the respect and admiration you deserve. Number 9. From stress to serenity. Caring too much is destroying your mental health, and most men don't even realize it. Think about the endless nights you've spent replaying conversations in your head, worrying about what someone else thinks of you, or stressing over the outcome of a situation you can't control. That constant worrying is toxic. It's slowly eating away at your confidence, your peace of mind, and ultimately, your ability to live a fulfilling life. The truth is, when you invest too much emotional energy into things outside of your control, whether it's work, friendships, or life situations, you hand over your power. You're letting external forces dictate how you feel, act, and think. And what does that do? It leaves you in a constant state of stress. The more you care, the more anxious you become. You're left chasing something that may never come, and in the process, you're sacrificing your peace. You don't need to care about everything. Society tells you that the more you care, the better man you are. But the real strength lies in letting go of things that drain your mental energy. Let me say it louder for the guys in the back. You don't need to be stressed out to be successful. In fact, success comes when you stop caring about every little thing and start focusing on what truly matters, you. The moment you stop over-analyzing every situation, you free yourself. That inner peace you've been searching for doesn't come from controlling everything around you. It comes from controlling yourself. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. Detachment doesn't mean being lazy or indifferent. It means protecting your mental space and choosing what's worth your emotional investment. Letting go of unnecessary worries transforms you. You stop reacting to every little problem, and you start responding to life with clarity. You stop being a slave to your emotions, and you gain the mental freedom to think logically and make decisions that benefit you long term. It's time to detach from the unnecessary baggage that's weighing you down. Start by asking yourself, is this really worth my mental energy? If it's not, let it go. Your mental health is more important than stressing over things that don't serve you. And here's the kicker. When you stop caring, you'll realize that most of those problems you stressed over were never as big as you made them out to be. Number 10. The law of detachment. Let's talk about the law of detachment, one of the most misunderstood yet powerful principles you'll ever come across. The more you let go, the more you receive. Now I know what you're thinking. How does not caring about something help me get it? But here's the uncomfortable truth. When you chase after anything too hard, you push it further away. That's how life works. The more you fixate on a goal, a relationship, or even success, the more desperate you seem, and the more you repel what you want. Detachment is about abundance, knowing that you don't need to cling to any one thing for your happiness. This applies to everything: your job, your goals, your friendships, and even your overall mindset. Think about it for a second. When you're not hung up on whether something works out or not, you move differently. You walk into situations with confidence, knowing that no matter the outcome, you'll be fine. That attitude attracts success, respect, and opportunities because it's grounded in self-assurance, not desperation. Here's where it gets even more interesting. The law of detachment doesn't mean not putting in effort. On the contrary, you give your best, but you do it without obsessing over what happens next. It's like planting a seed in the ground. You water it, you nurture it, but you don't stand there waiting for it to grow. Every minute you let nature take its course, trusting that the process will unfold as it should. That's how you need to approach your life. When you apply this principle to relationships, work, or any other part of your life, you're telling the world, I don't need this to define me. I'm in control of my own happiness. And guess what? That mindset shifts the entire dynamic in your favor. People and opportunities start coming to you because you're not chasing them down. You're attracting what's meant for you by letting go of what's not. So the lesson here is simple. Stop caring so much. Stop chasing. Stop begging. And stop being desperate. Whether it's in your relationships, your career, or your everyday life, detachment is the key to freedom. When you stop caring about the outcome, you take back your power. You stop living for others and start living for yourself. And ironically, when you stop caring, you start winning. If you found value in this video, do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel Love Stoic if you haven't already. And if you want to support our mission to create more high-quality content that's accessible to as many men as possible, consider joining our channel membership. Your support keeps us going and helps us reach more men who need to hear these messages. Thanks for watching.